Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Michelle Dutressa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stamping Up. I'm so pleased you can join me today. Now what we're going to be doing today is a little bit of a follow-on from Tuesday night. On Tuesday night in my live, I created these cards. Now it was suggested in that live that maybe I make a sort of a little bit of a folio to keep these cards in so then they can be gifted to somebody. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. Also, too, I didn't quite get these cards finished off in the fact that I didn't get the inserts put in. So I thought what we would do today is, one, we're going to finish off these cards because if I don't do it now, I know, probably like most of us, it won't get done. And the other thing, then I can do the folio and have it all completed and it's ready to gift. So, as I said, my name is Michelle. I am an independent demonstrator with Stamping Up. Please jump on, say hello, let me know that you're here following and let us know where you're from. It's always great welcoming lots of new people. So let's get started. Okay, I have taken this idea, I did a bit of research this morning, having a look at different folios, boxes. Hi, Linny, thanks for joining, that we could use, or I could use to recreate. And the one that I found was by, now let me just make sure I've got her name right because I do have it up here. Hold on a second. It's Michaela Tuthridge, I think is the correct way to pronounce it. Now, this is one that she had done. I will put a link to her page in my blog hop in my blog. Now, the measurements that she did hers on was on a smaller size card. So I've adjusted this for my larger card. So let me just go through the measurements that I've got here, and I will post all these measurements on my blog as well. Now, the size of the front of my folio is actually going to be based on an envelope size. If you base it on your card size, then your envelopes won't fit. So I've based it all on my envelope size and have made it a little bit bigger. So my envelope size is 11.3 by 16 centimetres. So I'm going to make the front of my folio 12 centimetres by 17 centimetres. I've put all my cards and my inserts and everything all together, and I've roughly measured the depth across all of those, and it's come to a little bit less than 2 centimetres. So I'm going to make the depth of my folio 2 centimetres deep. And I'm going to have a flap on the inside to hold these together, which is going to be about 6 centimetres deep. So the size cardstock I'm using is actually a 12 by 12 scrapbook cardstock in Night of Navy, because I had a piece of this in Night of Navy. And it measures, because by the time I took my width of my envelope, added my 2 centimetres depth, and then added the back of the folio, which is another width of my envelope. So that was 12 centimetres plus my 2 centimetres plus another 12 is 26 centimetres. So I needed a piece of cardstock which was 26 centimetres width. Now an A4 is 21 by 20, 29, so I could have got my width there, but in my depth I needed 17 centimetres for my depth, because remember my envelope is 16 centimetres and I've added an extra little bit of length there, so I made it 17. And I've added 1 centimetre for half the box, and you'll see why when we constructed it, and then another 6 centimetres for my flap up. So that's 24 centimetres. Now, that meant that I couldn't do it in an A4. Hi, Pauline. Thank you for joining. I couldn't use an A4 piece of paper, a piece of cardstock. So there are ways that you could do it. You could put a join in the bottom of it, the same as what I'm going to have to do on my sides. But if you've got 12 by 12 cardstock, that's probably the easiest one to use, and that's what I've based it on. So my piece of cardstock that I've cut is 26 centimetres by 24, so 26 wide by 24 deep. Okay, and I've scored that. Now I've got a piece here and I've already cut it. So I've cut it my 26 by 24. Now I've already scored this, and I've scored it at 12 centimetres in, plus my 2 centimetres, which is going to be my back spine of my folio, and another 12. So my scoring is 12 and 14. My length is 24 centimetres complete, and that's made up of 17 centimetres, which is the depth that I'm working with, plus 1 centimetre, and I'll explain why it's only 1 centimetre in a little while, plus another 6 centimetres for my flap. So I don't know whether you can see this, but I'm left with 2 score lines going down here through the centre, which is 2 centimetres wide, and 2 score lines going across here, which is only 1 centimetre wide. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a pencil and a ruler, and I'm going to measure either side of these 2 score lines. So that's the score lines so that's my 26, that's my 24 down. So I've got the 2 score lines, which are 2 centimetres apart, and I'm going to measure either side of those score lines and put a notch or a mark at 2 centimetres. Then I'm going to draw a line which goes from the top score line here at that probably the 7 centimetre mark, because those well, actually, if I scored it, it was scored at 17 and scored at 18. So if you look at it that way, it's at that 17 scoreline mark, and I'm going to draw it down to that bottom notch. Now, this is just going to cut out an angle for me. So then I have a little bit of, this will fold up nicely. I have a little bit of movement in the middle. So I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to cut this whole complete piece here out. And then I'll show you about the 2 1 centimetre pieces. So I'm just going to grab my paper scissors here, and we're just going to cut along those lines up to that top score line, that 17 centimetre score line. Now I'm just going to fold that up, and I'm just going to very carefully just want to cut that piece out. Now, of course, if you've got your craft knife handy, which I might see if I've got my craft knife and a mat here. I usually have a small little cutting mat. I'm just wondering if I can find it at the moment. No, I don't have it handy at the moment, so I'm just going to have to very carefully cut it out. Otherwise, I'd cut that line there with my craft knife, because you really do have to very gently get in there and cut it as straight as you can, going across that 2 centimetre line. So that piece there is going to get discarded. So that's what we're left with. So now if I flip this over and burnish all my score lines, this one, and then, so they're the 2, which is only 1 centimetre apart, and then I have these 2 here. So I'm just going to burnish those. It's going to give us like a little bit like a book, okay? So like we've got a spine. So what we've got now is a piece of folded half, so that's given us like a book type folio. Hi Joan, how are you? And then these pieces here are going to fold up. Now the reason why these 2 are only 1 centimetre wide, when they fold together, of course we're left with 2 centimetres, the same distance as our spine there. So having those little flaps there will allow me to slip these into there, and I've got a little bit of movement and room in there for them to sit comfortably. Now, I didn't like having these open, and Michaela also did this on hers. and I'm going to close up these side pieces here. So this piece here, I'm going to close it up so it actually becomes like a folio. But before I do that, I actually want to decorate this because I want to decorate it while it's still reasonably flat. But for those little pieces that are going to go on the side, I've cut 2 pieces, which is 3 centimetres wide by 5 centimetres in depth. Remember, I've made this here 6 centimetres in depth. Well, I'm going to join these at the top and leaving a 1 centimetre, or roughly 1 centimetre gap at the bottom. You could take that all the way to the bottom if you wanted, but I've just decided just to leave that 1 centimetre piece. And I've scored these at 1 centimetre and 2 centimetres. But I'm going to pop those to one side for the moment. Let's just move those measurements. So we're going to decorate this piece first. So what I thought I would do is, using the same as what we did the other day, I've already stamped my image on there, and I have got my masks here, and I'm going to very quickly, I'm going to pop one of these onto here. So let me just grab my other one, which is cleaner on that side, so you can see what I'm going to do. And we're going to very quickly colour this the same way as what we did the other night. So if you missed this the other night, then I'm going to do a similar sort of thing. Now I'm just going to use, I didn't do this part the other night because we sort of did like a one sheet wonder, but I'm just going to use these pieces here just to hold my cardstock there in place. You could put a bit of sticky on the back of it, but I'm doing it onto a piece of paper just for the fact that the other day I couldn't show you how we could notch it at the top because of the way we did a one sheet wonder, and I thought, well, today I can do that. So I've got number 1. Now I'm not going to go through this in too much depth because I have already, and I've got my piece upside down. Let's turn that around. No, I haven't. I've got it the right way. It's just me. And let's line this up. And making sure we've got 1. Now maybe I do have it the wrong way around. No, that should be that way. Just have to turn it a little bit more, Michelle. Okay. So line those pieces up. Till you're happy. And I'm going to pop a little notch just there. So I know that that is where each one of these pieces are going to line up. So the first colour we used the other day was balmy blue. So let me grab my balmy blue. And what we did was we did mask 1 and 2 in balmy blue. Now, as I said, I'm just going to do this quite quickly because I don't want to go into, because we did all this the other day. We're just going to go all over this. Adding our balmy blue, making sure we get all those little flowers. And those little buds. Okay, so there's layer 1. Pop that to one side, and I'm going to grab layer 2, match up that notch again. You might just have to match it up and just do a little bit of adjustment. We're going to grab a bit more ink. And then go over this again. Now I have made this card front piece not the same size as the other card fronts. This piece here I've cut at 10.5, and I did write it all down. Okay, so the card front for my box, I've cut it at 10.5 by 14.9. Okay, it's exactly a quarter of a sheet of A4 cardstock. So it's a little bit bigger than a card front. You could also use a card front size, but then you would just have to you'd have a bigger border around the outside, which is fine. Okay. It must be almost time for re-inking this ink pad. That is looking quite light. That's okay. Now I'm going to come in with my Misty Moonlight, and I'm going to use the same brush. Didn't do that the other day. Let's line this up first, though. Please excuse me 1 second. All this cold weather has given me a little bit of a drippy nose. And apparently we've got more cold weather coming. So I hope you've all got your winter woolies handy. And that doesn't look quite right. Let me just have a look. 3, that is right. Now let's just see if we can marry this up a bit better. That's better. Worked out the other day, marry up the dots, the circles, the inner part of those daisies and that around, and you get a really good match. Okay, so I'm going to come in with my Misty Moonlight and add a bit of Misty Moonlight to each of those. Starting to look good now. Okay, so now we're up to our leaves, and because we're doing our card base here is in the basic beige. So I'm doing my leaves in basic beige. Let me just grab a smaller, getting carried away here and forgetting to put my masks on. Okay, so I was being really clever before, and I've put my stamp and everything away, and I've just realised I'm actually going to need that. Okay, so let's just go over all of these leaves with our basic beige. Just going to give it that little bit of an antique look. Sometimes you have to go over these leaves quite well because some of them are quite small. You want to make sure you've got your colour in there. And then I'm going to come with the next one, a little bit of pecan pie. So again, matching up that notch up there. Just give that a bit of a twist. I might just use a different brush for this one because I want to come in with that basic beige and go around all the edges of my front here. So let's just match that up, twist that a little bit. Okay. Okay then, so there's our front done very quickly. In the same as our cards. Now, as I said, one thing I do want to do, actually I'll still keep that there, and I just want to grab our basic beige here and just add a little bit of colour all the way around these edges. I haven't bought my ring inkers yet for my basic beige, but I think I'm going to need to get it reasonably soon. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could add a bit of more stamping on that, but I'm just going to leave this just like that. Okay, so it's just got to give it that nice antique or shabby sort of look. Of course, if you wanted to, you could rough up the edges and all that sort of thing. So now I've got a piece of Misty Moonlight cardstock, and I'm just going to adhere that onto there. Now I've cut 2 of these Misty Moonlight pieces, one for the front of my portfolio to be under the mat of this card front, and one to go on the back of my portfolio. And they are, the measurements of those pieces are oh, excuse me. And also I'll just take this off. It's 10.8 by 15.2, so it's about 3 millimeters bigger. And that's because I only like to have a narrow edge around. And that's just down to personal preference. Of course, if you wanted to, you could go 0.5 centimetre bigger, but I like my 3 mil bigger. Okay, that just gives you that nice little edge there. Now, while we're stamping, so I'm just going to pop my front of my box and the piece is going to go on the back of my box to one side, because as I said before, we haven't finished off the insides of our cards. And if I don't do it now, I will never do it. And I will end up with more cards that have got nothing on it. So I was very clever and put everything away. So now I need to bring out my large block again. And my stamp. And I'm not going to do any more colouring because I am, excuse me, I just lost my voice there for a moment. But I am going to do some very basic stamping. Just using our Night of Navy, which I have got here. Now, remember, your Night of Navy actually stains your photopolymer stamp pink, and that's because the Night of Navy is a pink base. Now, when we did these cards, let me just get rid of those so I don't get ink all over my hands. When I did these cards the other day, I've got 2 that are tent-fold, okay, and I have got 2 that are also a tent-fold, but they're done in the book fold, so they're going to go that way. So when I've going to stamp my insert pieces, and they're on the basic beige, you could also use your basic white if you want to. I've just got to remember that I'm going to be stamping 2 in one direction and 2 in another. Now, my insert pieces are 10 by 14.4, and I've cut 4 of them. So I'm going to start by just stamping these just across the corner. So I'm just going to take that up a little bit, work out which direction I want that to go. You don't have to stamp these all the same. You could stamp them all a little bit differently. So I just want to put a little bit of decoration there on the corners. There's one done. Remembering we've got 2 in a book fold, so 2 in portrait. As I said, these all don't have to be done differently, so I'm going to do this one a little bit, stamp it a little bit higher up, just in case you don't want to do as much writing. So it's 2 in book fold, 2, or in portrait, and 2 in landscape. Whoops, I've got things all in the wrong hands here. So this one here, which is going to be more landscape, so I'm going to take that more of a landscape. And we've got this one in landscape. Now, being a big stamp, it's much easier to take my stamp directly to my stamp pad directly to my stamp rather than the other way around. Let's have a look. I think we might go that one. Going that way. Just so then they're all a little bit different and a little bit individual, just like our card fronts. Now, while we're doing some stamping, let's do some envelopes. I don't normally stamp my envelopes, but hey, let's do some envelopes. Now, I'm going to, when we put our envelopes, we address it here, we put our stamp up here, and I was told once that really we should only be decorating probably this top corner here. Otherwise, the computer may have, that is at the post offices, that read what is on our envelopes, could have a little bit of a problem. So I'm just going to stamp that just on there like that. Pretty. So there's one. And again, I'm going to do all these a little bit different. So how you're coping with this very cold weather. Linny, have you had any more snow? Linny had snow at her place the other morning. Did it stay on the ground for long? That's my question. There's another one. Let's do another one. And I'm going to turn this around and do that one that way. Last one. Whoops, I got my big inky fingers right in the middle of that. I'll just continue on, but I will replace that envelope later on. One thing about using such a big stamp is it's very easy to get icky fingers, but at least, hey, it shows it's been handmade. And you know what? You never know. One of these cards might want to be hand delivered. No more snow, and it didn't lay on the ground. You didn't get much. I tell you, it looked pretty, Linny. It looks so pretty with the with all that snow flying about, and because I've put my finger in that, I've just put a little bit of a one there just to give that a little bit of prettiness on the front. Okay, so let me just clean this up before I stick my fingers in any more ink. And let's get back to our portfolio. Okay then. So let's move all of that out of the road. Close up this ink pad so I don't shove my fingers in there again. And let's grab our portfolio. And those two pieces. Now, where's those little bits that I cut? Let's see if we can find them. So now we've got, oh, that's what we need to do first. Is let's just put all of this. We're not going to find those little bits and cut some more if we need to. let's add all of these into here. So we've got 2 that way. So this one here, go in this one. So there's card 1 done. There's my other portrait one. Add that in here. Now please share my videos with your friends. I would really appreciate that. And this will all get blogged over the weekend, hopefully. So there's that one, and then our last one. This one I'm going to add it. I think I might add it that way. Okay, so we have now got finished. There's that card, and that one's like that. We have this one here, and that one's like that one. We have this one. We've got that on the inside, and our last one, that one, and we have that on the inside. So there are all our cards. That wasn't another bit of ink, thank you. So there's my envelope. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 envelopes. Oh, I've got a bit of ink on that one, but not as much as we got on the other one. That's okay. Okay, so there's our 4 cards, 4 envelopes done. So now we have this little portfolio. So we have this piece, we have that, and there's my 2 little pieces there. So we're going to decorate the front here. So what I'm going to do is I've got here some ribbon, and I want my ribbon to go across there like that. And I'm just going to roughly work out the middle. Now this is just the last piece of this left, so I don't even know how long this is. It's probably, let's have a look. So that's 30, that's half a metre, so that's 30, 50, 60, 70. It's about 80 centimetres in length I've got here of my ribbon. It's the last little bit I've got. Just going to put a little bit of a crease there. And I'm just going to, so we made this, I just want to roughly work it out. This is where I become very, so what I said about depth was 17. So I'm going to make this about 8.5, about 8.5. So I just put 2 little 8.5 marks there. Can I see them? I can see one. And what I want to do is just put a little bit of adhesive over the top of that one. And I think it's around about there somewhere. Over that one. 8.5. Just doing those little marks again at 8.5, because there's my halfway mark. Let me just double check that. So it's going to go over there, and I'm just roughly putting that ribbon halfway over that 8.5. Okay, because I just want to have that, so then that goes around there, and that adhered to down like that. Now, this is the front of my box. That's the back of my box, so I'm going to adhere that over the top of there like that. And if you wanted to, you could put a panel on there if you're giving this as a gift and you want to write something on there. You could also, instead of using your seal, I could have used my tear and tape. Just want to make sure that I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on there, because I really don't want this ribbon to move in and out. So tear and tape probably would have been a little bit better, and I'm just going to use my eye and just judge that about halfway around. Okay, I'm going to pop a little bit of glue on this. I don't like my ribbon to look like it's been solidly glued on, so that's why I've sort of left that with a little bit of play there, because it's just now going to look like that it is loose, even though it's not. Put a bit of glue, but put a little bit more. And I'm going to just pop this here underneath here, just to give me a bit of a guide. And then that's going to go on there like that. Ooh, do I want it that way up? Do I want it that way up? I think I like it better that way up. Okay, that's better. So there's the cover of my folio. Okay, so now we're just going to get these little pieces in here. So I'm going to grab these two little pieces, and I am actually now going to grab my tear and tape. And first off, I'm going to burnish each one of these score lines on these pieces here. And grab my tear and tape. And I'm going to put one piece on either side of these little tabs. Close to those score lines as you can without going over them. Now I'm just going to just angle those slightly, those little tab pieces, on each one of these. Just gives you a much neater look, and I find it's much easier to angle those after I put the tape on. So what we're going to do is just take the tape off one side, lining up that score line with the edge. Now, remember, I almost forgot, I've come up 1 centimetre. Actually, I might do it on this piece here, so I'm going to do it on the bottom tab. And I'm lining that score line with the cut line on the outside edge, but I'm also lining it up at the top, which is going to leave me that little 1 centimetre piece like that. We're going to do that on both sides. Had to cut my fingernail the other day, and now it doesn't want to lift these pieces up. Okay, so I'm going to line that up with that score line and with the top like that. Give that a really good burnish just to make sure on the inside that that's all well and truly adhered. Okay. Then what we can do is peel off the other side. And this could be a little bit fiddly. We're going to fold that in. Closing that up and squaring that up. And again, lining that score line up. Give that a good burnish on the inside in there. And then we can do the same with the other side. So tucking that in, squaring that up and lining those score lines and the outer edge together, and give that a good burnish on the inside. Okay, so that's given us our little folio. So we've got 2 centimetre spine. Those two pieces there are 1 centimetre in width, so that's given us 2 centimetres across there and 2 centimetres at the bottom. By having that cut at an angle there, and I've got my pencil marks there, and I probably should have gone in with my rubber and just rubbed that out. I don't think I've got one of these quite square, unfortunately. Let's see if I can still lift it. I can a little bit. Whoops, just making a little bit of a mess there. I might just pop a bit more tape on this. Just not quite happy with the way I've done that. Just give that a little bit of a burnish. That's not going to get seen because hopefully it's going to stay on the inside. I want to make sure this is nice and square. That's better. Burnish that. That's not too bad. Probably could have been a little bit better. But anyway, once we fill it, no one's going to know. So that's giving you that angle there, just gives you that really nice finish there. So now we can pop 2 envelopes on either side. Two cards on either side. Just like that. Close that up. Tie that at the side in a nice bow. Let's grab our snips here. Just cut those off at a bit of an angle. And there you are. There's a really simple little gift folio that you could gift your cards into. Now, these measurements here, I probably could fit another 2 cards, 2 envelopes in there, but that'd be my maximum. I'd have to make it a little bit bigger if I did. I've made my box a little bit larger than my envelopes. As I said, work on your envelope measurements. Don't work on your card measurements. And that will work out to the right sizing. You could put a little bit of bling on there if you wanted to. As I said, you could add another panel on the back there. Even if you wanted to, you probably wouldn't even need to add this panel. You could have just put, well, I could have just put a piece of tear and tape underneath just that one section there and just have the ribbon going across. But I might even put a panel on there as yet, depending on who I decide I'm going to give this to. And that way I can write before I glue it on there what I want to write on there. But anyway, just a nice little folio. You can make smaller sizes there for your note cards and envelopes, which is the one that Michaela used. You could make something like this for tags with Christmas coming up. So really, it's you could make it even a little bit bigger, wider if you wanted to, and add a pencil or pen section in there as well, sort of like next to the card and envelopes, or add a little pocket on the side here where you could add a pen or pencil if you wanted to. But anyway, that's been fun to make. At least now it's complete. I can now gift that to somebody without having to sort of to go back and play around. Probably could have matched my end pieces there a little bit better, but hey, I'm actually quite happy with that. So I hope you've enjoyed that. So that's ended up being part 2 of Tuesday's part 1, which wasn't really a part 1 on Tuesday, but now is. That makes sense to everybody. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I will write this up over the weekend. See, Nicole, this was all your fault. You're the one that suggested this. I think it was you, Nicole, that suggested I made a folio. So it's done. I've done it. But as I said, I will put all the instructions. I'll also put a link to Michaela's blog post in my blog, so then you can go back to that if you want more reference to it. Have a lovely day. I'm looking out my window here. The trees and everything next door neighbours' yards are blowing quite a bit. I know it's quite cold out there, so please stay warm and have a lovely weekend. I'm hoping to get some photos printed so I can do some scrapbooking soon. So that might be what I'm doing this weekend. I've also got an antique christening gown to repair, so I've got to get onto that. So I'm going to have a busy one. So I hope you do too. Stay warm, take care, and thank you very much for joining me today. Bye for now.